Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Cultist back again with another logic tutorial, and we're going to be covering the subject of how to group objects to a puppet or add accessories. We'll also be covering some basic information about scoping and grouping, and ungrouping, just because. Anyway, to start off, grouping is a very simple thing. We'll clone this object with L1 and R2, move it over. Click both objects with X, you'll see this little highlight around them indicating that they're selected. And then press X on group. And now these two things are contained together and considered a part of the same group. If you want to enter inside that group and make more copies, L1 and X scopes into a group, and you can turn this off if you want to, specifically only see the group itself and what's contained inside of it. And now we have a group of 3. If you want to leave, it's as simple as L1 and circle to scope out. Another way is you can manually click this, but that could take a while if you have a lot of groups, so keep that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that each individual thing inside the group has its own label, which is considered separate from the group's label and collision, so keep that in mind. Even if your entire group is, if you turn all these off, it will still be collidable if the objects inside are set to collidable and are the proper label to collide with whatever it else, is in the scene. To ungroup, all you have to do is select with X and press this little thing here. And now they're all separate. And now we'll be talking about how to add stuff to the puppet. It's actually pretty easy. It's different from adding new sculptural details to things, like, this. It's like a separate sculpt being added with the puppet. One thing you want to make sure is that things are non-collidable before being added to the puppet. So, turn this off. And the physics is optional. Since it's not collidable, it might not really matter, but just grab it with R2, then press L1 and X. As you can see, it's highlighted there. Add to group. Now, once you're inside the group, you'll have the hat right here. There is a way where you can add things to a group by simply, doing the same process we just did. L1, grab with R2, then press L1 and X, and that will add it to a group technically. However, I don't prefer this method because it tends to be finicky and it doesn't work very well. So, a better way to do it is to simply group them both like we showed earlier. And as you can see, the hat adheres perfectly. I advise, when creating a puppet, either stamp out a paint fleck, don't put it on mirror of course, just put it on stamp fleck. I would advise stamping out a paint fleck for any new puppet that you're making. And creating groups, we'll scope this one out. Let's scope in once. Basically just copy the paint fleck any way you want, but make sure that it's grouped with the arms and any other accessories, areas. Basically all the limbs. And the reason why is because if you want to change something later, it's best to have a group already deployed, because occasionally if you add an animation to something, like I will demonstrate, like we'll have him raise his hand. put the timeline on loop. You'll notice that the group is functional, but if we create a new one, which I'm going to do right here, scope in, take this out. I'm going to create a new group and attach this to his arm. Oh, that's actually working. Anyway, it's inconsistent because sometimes what'll happen is the fleck will just hover in place and it won't stay with the group. In this case, that didn't happen, so that's good. But just in case, I would already have many things on the puppet grouped to begin with, just, you know, as a safety precaution. That way, if you want to change, if you want to keep the animations, but you want to add new accessories, you don't have to do a complex animation all over again. And if you want to add new things to the group, it's as simple as just taking something, make sure it's non-collidable. Always have things non-collidable. Dreams is not the sort of game where you want to have, like, realistic collision. You know, where your sword bounces off of things. You can have that, but it's better to use logic instead of actual collision of the object. So just completely make sure you scope into any object and make sure it's decollidable. And if you have a really complex object, just double tap to select all of it, and then press, you know, collision off. And then we'll scope in. L1, grab with R2, then press L1 and X to scope in. And we'll copy it out so he has two. And if you want to add anything to that group, it's actually pretty simple. Just grab it and scope in with L1 and X, and there you go. That's now a part of the group, and we'll move with the rest of it. And everything adheres to the animations, preset puppet animations. By the way, if you want to stop the puppet looking at the imp, it's pretty simple. Just turn auto look off and turn off motion sensor movement if you don't want the puppet swaying around when you possess him with the controller's motion. There you go. Most people may not want that. It's actually quite simple to turn off. Just go in here, turn it to 0. Anyway, hopefully you found that helpful. Here are the names of all of our lovely cult supporters. Many thanks to all of you. If you'd like to get your name in those credits, check the link in the description and head over to our coffee. You can become a cultist neophyte to become credited at the end of our video, or you can become an acolyte to gain early access to videos in addition to credit. Now, if you aren't in the mood for membership, you can always leave a one-time tip. If you enjoyed this video and are not already subscribed, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. And maybe give us a quick like, both options are free. Also, don't forget to ring the notification bell so you will always be notified when new videos come out. If you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, leave them in the comment section. Or if you just want to let out your pent-up rage, give us some smack talk. Until next time, goodbye.